Hi, everybody. It is November 2nd, 2024. It just dawned on me we're only 3 days away from that big election. Sorry to say, but I could give a sheet. Yeah. I'm a little tired of all of the horseshit going on in this country. I don't know about you guys, but I am really tired of it. So hello, Geo Factor 3 and Analog Synth Player and Alicia DeMoss and Julio and D Moore and Max Maximus. Hello. Andrew Cruz. Hi. Tony Punch. Hi. And Brian C. Agnes. Pizza Guy. Christopher James. Hit the Hypocrites Matrix. Hi, guys. And Troy McCulley. Hi. A blackbird that is white. Hi. I haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you. Amber Eyes. Hi. Patricia White. Barbarous Heartbreaker. And Space Indian. BMCC. Silent Walk. Arkle 11. And Joni. Hello, everybody. So, here we go. Let's just take a quick look at radar. Oh, I'll let you see it too. Okay, fine. So, look. Oh, look. We've got some supercells igniting. New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, into Kansas, and precipitation on up to Iowa. Look at the frequencies, plain as can be. Look at, I'll slow it down just in case it's too fast for you to see. But the frequencies are coursing through this weather front as they do all weather fronts. Oh, that's a nice shot right up here. Oh, Iowa, Missouri. Missouri. Whoa. All right, well, it's coming out of Kansas into Missouri. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All these shots to weather fronts. Oh, gets a little hard to take. Well, Doppler radar igniting, and it usually does at nighttime. So we do have, well, maybe they've been called off, but we did have severe weather alerts in New Mexico. We've got the extremely low frequencies here in Southern California. Let's just take a look. 2 active severe weather warnings for New Mexico. And right on the corner, right where you see the supercell activation, right here. Lea County. Is that right? Yes. Be very careful. 8 miles northeast of Lovington, 19 miles west of Eunice. Okay, once again, the link is in the chat. As you know very well, they can create an awful lot of destruction. And the link to the severe weather alert page is in the chat as well. So what do you think? Yeah, is this normal? Okay. Oh, what do we have? Dear government, stop gaslighting us. Come on. Man-made weather control is real. Please stop denying it. After all, you're the ones allowing this global assault. Look at this. Look at this guy. Really? Really? Don't know where this is, but hey, does it matter? Because we've all seen it in our own skies. Okay. Yeah. Look away, you scared little adult children who are afraid to recognize that something is very wrong with your skies because, well, you're scared you're going to be called a conspiracy theorist. How anybody could look at that and not recognize that something is very wrong? You got me. You got me. I just don't know. Can't figure it out. Okay, into thin air again. I do highly recommend that you subscribe because he is on it. And not too many people are. Okay, so there were a whole lot of us on it for a long time, but fortunately, we still have people like Into Thin Air, and big shout out and thank you, Into Thin Air.
All right, my friends.
Okay, well, look at this.
Welcome back. We are taking a look at this severe weather situation that will be taking place in Texas and stretching through Oklahoma. Not only that, but we already have some very strange anomalies taking place via the NEXRAD radar towers all around this storm, as well as hundreds, maybe thousands of water vapor trails being sprayed all over the southeast near the panhandle of Florida, Georgia, Alabama. Take a look at that mess. And just a reminder, the reason we call these water vapor trails, because if we call them something else, we get censored off the internet, which violates our free speech. But hey, is anyone else surprised? All right, let's take a look at these storms over Texas, because we warned about this situation taking place because of all the moisture that was coming in from the west and being sprayed nonstop. We knew it was going to all build up and it would become a severe weather situation through Texas. So over the next 3 to 4 days, we could see anywhere from 10 to 12 inches of rain within this center strip going from North Texas through basically central Oklahoma, right through what we like to call Tornado Alley. And yes, this is expected to produce tornadoes, as you can see right here. You could see a very wide range of the country is covered by this situation. If we go to the tornado risk, you can see it's exactly where we explained, from central Texas all the way through central Oklahoma. All right, my friends, now we're going to take a look at the NEXRAD radar. You're going to see this being built up right here, right next to both of these radars. I want you to notice that the storm right here, just to the north of this radar and just to the east of this radar. And right after that, as you can see, we already start getting these crazy anomalies. We have 2 buildup areas, one here near central Texas and the other one beginning to fire off right here in New Mexico. As we move forward, you're going to see these lines popping up all over the place. There's one right there coming from Colorado down into New Mexico. And now as we watch these form, you can see them happening almost every other frame. It's like a disco party going on as these storms are forming. And then we get some of the weird ones. Right about here, we start seeing the grid patterns taking place. This is covering northern Texas and western Oklahoma. Taking it a little farther, we have more lines coming out of Colorado down into New Mexico. And take a look at how the shape of the storm is beginning to change and warp. We will continue moving forward. And now this is where things get very odd. We see this one anomaly pop up. And whenever we see this, we always see a disturbance later on with the storm. So if you watch closely, once that anomaly takes place, we start seeing a buckle in the storm right around this area here. And that is the part that's going to be flowing through central Oklahoma later on today. We'll continue on. You can see just building and building as it goes across the northern Texas area and into central Oklahoma. All right, and that should give you some idea about how severe and how long and drawn out these storms are going to be. As I said, 10 to 12 inches of rain expected in these areas of Texas and Oklahoma. Now, finally, I want to show you something that's going on in the southeast really quick. I'm sure a lot of you seen it. A lot of you have already posted pictures of the sky and all these quote unquote water vapor trails all over the southeast. And I mean, come on, it's as clear as day. We know what's going on here. Anyone who's been awake for any significant period of time can see what's going on here, and we know what to look for. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. So if you're in the southeast, it's going to be a rough day as far as the skies go. But as of right now, there's not much we can do about it besides spread the word. All right, my friends, I appreciate you all very much. I'll have an update on Hurricane Raphael because Patty formed in the North Atlantic. Won't be much of a storm, I don't think, but that changes nothing that's taken place in the Gulf. All right, everyone, shout out to Canada, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.
The link is in the chat just in case you missed it. Again, people need to know what is going on. Stop ignoring reality, Americans and everybody in the world. Stop ignoring the reality that you can see, right? Stop ignoring. Stop being gaslit. Because at this point, anybody who is still capable of being gaslit, recognize that there's something very wrong with your brain. Okay, so wildfire alert. Northeast.
Well, there's a record dry spell that is fueling unseasonal fire danger across the Northeast. Connecticut's National Guard has dropped 250,000 gallons of water onto brush fires in Berlin. That's the central part of the state. Aviation resources being continuously utilized to respond to that Hawthorne fire as needed. Now, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Jersey are all battling fires this week. And really the biggest problem here, guys, is that it hasn't rained in a really, really long time. You got a lot of different factors when it comes to fire weather. The relative humidity, so how dry or moist is the air? How dry or moist is the ground? That's another factor. And then how much wind is there? That's kind of the third one. And we've had times where the air's been really humid, or I should say very dry. We've also had points where the air's been a little bit on the humid side, and it's still been really bad fire danger. The point is, it's really the ground being so dry. That's the biggest problem here, mixed in with the rain as well. We've still got fire danger throughout good chunks of the Northeast here. This is going to be something that the situation is probably not going to improve too much. There is a front coming through by the time we get to Friday.
But you're going to have very little rain. Oh, New York City under drought watch after second driest October in recorded history, with residents being urged to conserve every drop. With all of the moisture that they are letting drop, that they are carrying and letting drop in specific areas and specific regions of our country, the Northeast can get very dry. And by the way, again, I need to say, check out Texas Weather Modification Association, right in that corner, the northwest corner of Texas. They call it the Panhandle. A whole lot of weather modification takes place. But hey, just keep being stupid. Yeah, and be proud of mainstream media and government officials and all of those environmentalists out there who are telling you it's climate change. Be proud that you've handed over your brain and you no longer can independently think. Okay. Yeah, pisses me off. Virginia family says they were offered $9,000 from FEMA after house was swept away. Yay, FEMA. Thank you so much for shitting on Americans and giving over so much money to those illegal migrants.
Has been more than 1 month since floodwaters fueled by Helene destroyed parts of the mountain town of Damascus, Virginia. 10 News reporter Libby Cunningham shows us what's left of one family's home. Libby?
A radio DJ in Bristol told me people in Damascus are still suffering. We had to go see for ourselves and find out how you can help people who've lost everything.
Look, it's taking the whole house.
Maybe you've seen this video. A house in Damascus, Virginia swept away by floodwaters brought on by Helene.
There goes the bridge. Oh my God.
That's Mike French watching his home float away. A month later, he's standing in the same spot. He just put this fence in before the storm.
Just a little under $6,000. I mean, it ran the entire length of the property.
It's just this debris and slabs of foundation. That's all that's left of the home that Mike and his wife Amy French bought when they were first in love.
I remember signing our names and dating it inside of one of our closets the day we first moved in, and it was June of 1998.
26 years later, this camper got knocked over by floodwaters and slammed the French family home into a creek that runs parallel to the Appalachian Trail in Damascus. The home was swept down the creek, taking out a bridge. Amy says she was home with their 17-month-old grandchild when the floodwaters came in. She says Mike saved the family pets. They're lucky to be alive, but it's not easy to lose everything.
Luckily, we all made it out safe, us and our pets. However, seeing a house that you've worked 30 years and saved for 30 years, to live there and then watch it all wash away downstream was honestly disbelief and shock.
The Frenches say the Damascus police chief has been helpful, but they feel federal aid is coming up short. Right before we interviewed them, they said FEMA told them it'd only give them $9,000 to rebuild. Some of the memories they lost, they say, are priceless.
My wedding rings, my husband's wedding rings, my wedding dress, which of course would have went to my daughter. I wish we could at least find that.
Now, the French family's daughter, Leah, is advocating for her parents and set up a GoFundMe. We'll have those details on WBIR.com. Back to you.
$9,000. Wow. That's going to help them out, right? But you notice that it's not just Western North Carolina or Eastern Tennessee. Virginia, West Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. And then right after that, it was New Mexico. People have it's kind of like damage straggled throughout the country. After that, it was a couple of days ago, Arkansas blew off the roofs of several homes. I have to say, man, wow. Some people are just really incredible. This is different one. Let me see here. And yeah, F the federal government. We are on our own now. That's why, if you can pitch in to help out, do it. Okay. Because all of the people who are pitching in, you lighten their burden when you step in to give time, to give, your hands to help out, to give supplies, to donate. And look at this.
It's the guts and it's the glory. 100 stripes, 100 stories. It's the Pledge of Allegiance on the 4th of July.
So all of those campers donated. And look at this.
Camper is here, guys, and this thing is amazing. Look at this. It's got a full outdoor kitchen. Your kids can go to the restroom from outside instead of messing up the inside of the camper. I want that on my RV. And it's massive. This thing just keeps going and going. So a huge shout out to Dogwood Disaster Relief for bringing this up here. Look inside here. I mean, full kitchen. There's the 4 Patriots food. Got a year's worth of food there. And having your own bedroom for parents, super nice. And it's complete. These expand out. But in the back is 4 bunks. And they put bedspreads on there. I mean, the camper is loaded out with everything they need. I'm beyond blown away what these people did. So this family here in a few hours is about to have a home. And this is all because of everyone helping, coming together, working together, and taking care of people. I'm out of breath because I'm so blown away about how generous everybody is. So this family is handled. Years worth of food, house, and this is temporary. We're working on getting houses built for people who lost everything. And I'm trying to get, there's an organization we're working with. I'll talk more about that later. But this is temporary to get people through the winter until we can help them rebuild their lives. But yeah, thank you so much for being a part of this.
So when you think about it, there's an awful lot of people who are there in Western North Carolina helping people out. It's a fraction of our population. It's just a small fraction of our population. Can you imagine, everybody coming together and helping one another out, not just in this community, but a whole lot of other communities? Now, this is a retired police officer who went down to Western North Carolina to help out. And I'm just I'll put the link in the chat. You can watch the full broadcast, but just let's listen to him for a few minutes. No, mainstream media does not tell you the truth about how devastating all of this is. We know that. Why do we put up with the lies? I don't know.
Yeah, man. Well, one is destruction of biblical proportions. Been here on the ground since it's been about 2 weeks. Since I got here, pretty much. I started working Monday, the week after it happened. I've kind of lost track of days, but done everything from search and rescue to switching over to search and recovery. And then right now, this week, I'm even switching back over to more of like a humanitarian morale building kind of mission. We're just, mentally exhausted, physically exhausted. I'm working with a group of guys, special operations guys. I come from special operations background when I was in the military, and then of course being a law enforcement officer. And one of my old buddies threw together kind of a team to get to work where there isn't anybody getting to work. And they established an airfield with helicopters, aircraft. We've got pararescue men. We've got combat controllers. We've got cut teams with chainsaws. We've got medical teams. Pretty much all these teams going out on operations. They've done countless rescues. I have no idea how many bodies they've recovered as a team so far, but they're recovering lots of bodies in the last week. It's been a real crazy effort. And we got about 100 to 150 people right now, volunteers. They're running operations out of the Banner Elk Airfield. We got civil affairs teams knocking on doors, trying to see what the community needs are, reporting that back to the hangar, and then deploying as needed. Anywhere from airlifting people out and getting them to the hospitals to bringing insulin to them, to getting oxygen to them, to getting gasoline for their generators. Just been a really very impressive effort by civilians, by special operations veterans, by regular veterans, combat veterans, you name it. Everybody just kind of come together in the last 3 weeks. And, there's hundreds and hundreds of miles of devastation that I don't know that anybody's ever seen before. Mudslides have taken out complete neighborhoods, towns, flooding, where we've been to neighborhoods that are gone, and so are all the people that were living in it. To the point where you don't even realize that there was a town, there was a neighborhood there to begin with. Just flat concrete foundation. Just like I said, destruction on a biblical scale. Some of the problems we've been running into is there's no infrastructure anymore. A lot of these towns are completely cut off from civilization. The roads have been completely washed away, and you have complete hollows or hollers, as they call them up here, that are cut off from the rest of the world. And some of these hollers that we've rolled up into, they're like, you're the first people we've seen in 4 days. Like, we've all banded together as a community. We're sharing food and water. We're all just the resources that we had here as a neighborhood, we've kind of put together. But where is everybody? We're like, we don't know either, man. I think in 2 weeks, I've been flying. I've been on rivers and kayaks. I've been on rafts. I've hiked in and hiked out. I've slept in these towns and these communities somewhere different almost every night. I've seen 12 National Guard soldiers total in 2 weeks. I'm not saying that they're not there. We just haven't seen them. And every town, we're going into these hard-hit towns that have, people missing in large amounts, and there's nobody there to help them. We have no cell phone communication. Some of these operations are taking 2 days just to establish some form of communication, right? So we're getting into these neighborhoods, finding out that they've got a family of 5 that got swept away, and nobody's gone out and looked for this family of 5 yet. And so we're taking notes, canvassing, getting as much information as we can, and then we have to drive an hour and a half back to the hangar, get this put on a map, get this intel to our ops center so they know where we're going to be, how long we're going to be there. And then we got to drive an hour and a half back, kind of start the searching process, get a location of where we could start, go back an hour and a half, get to the hangar, get in a helicopter, find a landing site that we can get dogs, ATVs, 4-wheelers on the ground, get them on the ground. And then we have to pretty much monitor the operation via helicopters and time hacks.
Wow.
Because there are no radios, there are no cell phone towers, there is no communication, no GPS. It's really funny because we're all having to use Atlas maps, and
Yeah.
That's bizarre, man. Like, we're having a hard time. Like, you give me a map and a compass and a protractor, I'm good. But we don't have grid maps out here. So we're all using like road atlases. And a lot of road atlases just use road numbers, and all these roads have names, but no numbers. So you might be on Sherry Brook Road, but on the map, that's 17 East, or 19 East. So, yeah,
Wow.
It's just been just this wild effort. But, if
I'm going to put the link in again. It's pretty amazing. It's so unbelievably impressive what these volunteers are doing. And yeah, you want to talk being thrown back into the Stone Ages? An Atlas map is the Stone Ages. But watch what these people are doing in Western North Carolina. And when it comes to your community, maybe you can help out. It's really, there are so many people who are skilled, who can help out in whatever which way, that they can. And no one is non-essential. No one. Hands on deck, and people will put you to work. Pinellas seniors are still not in their apartments. Florida, okay? No set return date. This is from after Hurricane Milton. They're still not in their homes, and they won't be. They were informed before 2025.
About 5 weeks since residents at a Pinellas County senior living community were forced to leave their homes because of Hurricane Helene. Tonight they are
sorry, not Milton, Helene.
still not allowed to return home.
Today, the company that owns the building says it's working on repairs, but some residents are still frustrated and they want answers tonight. 8 on Your Side investigator Brittany Muller has the latest on this story.
Jen Keith, good evening. The property management company just took ownership of this building 15 days ago. They say Hurricane Helene did some major damage to this building, now renamed the Barclay at Pasadena. And it's just not safe for residents to return here. But for the people who live there, they feel like they're in limbo and they want to know if and when things will ever get back to normal.
My dad. 93-year-old Edwin Rankowitz is settling into his new home.
They got enough to get by, but there's a lot of things left there that I hope to get someday or get compensated for the loss.
He had been living at the Barclay at Pasadena, formerly known as Alonce, until residents evacuated right before Hurricane Helene to a sister property in Sarasota.
We had 5 men in one room, large room, but only one shower and 2 toilets, I believe. Sleeping in army cots.
Then, ahead of Milton, Allison Lascarbo evacuated her father to family in Massachusetts, while she scrambled to find him a new place to live.
At this age, change is very difficult, but change under duress has caused just overwhelming stress.
Lascarbo says once a new company, QSLM, took over October 15th and told residents they would not be able to move back in until after 2025, she broke her dad's lease.
We've already spent almost $5,000, and we're just lucky that we can do it, but I really expect restitution to him for that money.
Edwin had to leave his valuables behind, including his important documents, headsets, and clothing, but thankfully recovered this photo of his late wife.
There's been no communication with families as to what, when they can get back in, if they can get back in. But honestly, the biggest problem has been the lack of ability to get personal property.
But QSLM disputes that. Chief Growth Officer Leland Rice says they have been in regular touch with their residents over phone, email, and social media and have set up dedicated 24/7 call centers. Rice says because of the damage sustained by the 2 hurricanes, the property is uninhabitable. The Barclay saw up to a 4-foot storm surge of unsanitary water inside, damage to the electrical and mechanical systems, as well as the elevators. The power is still out and there is a high fire risk. Rice also said his staff have been trained to enter the building and retrieve residents' personal items on their behalf, but they are unable to safely retrieve any larger items at this time. While Edwin understands the devastation of back-to-back storms, he says he worries about his friends being forgotten.
I'm hoping for the best for everybody, that they stay healthy and get back to normal someday.
This is our new normal now. Inconvenience, trauma, tragedy, the loss of everything. And yeah, okay. Did you see how large those buildings are? So you listen to one person being interviewed. How many of those seniors? Where are they? They're not even allowed into their own homes to collect things. Florida becoming unlivable. Yeah, I'm going to post the link to this because I'm not going to play the whole thing, but this is what's happening all across the board now.
Dorf says in her neighborhood, when it rains, it floods.
I feel like every time it rains, and my husband, says, don't worry, but it's stressful.
Reisdorf says her house has flooded at least 10 times since she moved here in 1999.
It's emotional. It was a little slice of heaven. Yes, they're condemning the entire park, regardless of the condition of your trailers.
They're telling us we're getting a letter today or tomorrow and a red sticker on our door.
Provided indicating that if there was any water intrusion into any of the mobile home parks or trailer parks, they're a different structure from that of a typical residential home. Then that is deemed substantial damage, and as such would need.
Any water intruding into a mobile home park is deemed substantial damage. Get out. We're going to red sticker your home. Tell you you can't live there. I showed one of these news broadcasts where the entire mobile home was condemned. All of the mobile homes, even the ones that did not get any water in them, the whole park condemned. Does that seem fair? Does that seem right? All right, people are really losing a whole lot now. It's in our face. It is so in our face. I will post the link again. This man imparts very important information, especially if you're in Florida. Becoming unlivable. Yeah, only the very wealthy can live in Florida. And I have said for many, many years, they're going to take everybody out in Florida and just make that whole area for the elite. And it looks like they're doing it. Residents demand answers after flooding from Hurricane Debbie. So when you experience these kinds of natural disasters, don't expect, unless you have a lot of money and a lot of help, do not expect to recover like in 3 months or 6 months. Because an awful lot of people, it takes years.
First tonight, calls for accountability. This is Nightside. I'm Emerald Morrow. Dave and Courtney have the night off. Tonight, as our area recovers from Hurricanes Helene and Milton, some neighbors are still recovering from Hurricane Debbie, which hit the state 3 months ago. I made a trip to Lakewood Ranch, where some families tell 10 Investigates they are still waiting for county leaders to take more accountability after flooding destroyed their homes. The sandbags outside this Lakewood Ranch home give Jill Soshenitz a little PTSD from Hurricane Debbie.
This was my office.
The storm sent water from the Braden River rushing inside, destroying just about everything.
Water was just coming through, under, and through the walls and just everywhere.
It got so bad, crews had to rescue her family.
We had 15 minutes to pack.
During the early morning hours of August 5th, as Debbie dumped inches and inches of rain within hours, emergency officials decided to release water from the Lake Manatee Dam. But they insist because of the distance and geography, it did not cause the flooding those like Soshenitz experienced along the Braden River.
I can tell you with 100% certainty that the Manatee River Basin and the discharge from the dam did not move through the Braden River Basin and creating the flooding there.
But Soshenitz is not so sure.
What really, really disappoints us and just adds salt to the wound is having a county official come out and blatantly say that the water from the dam did not cause this after they agreed to an investigation that hasn't been completed.
10 Investigates learned the county has hired consultants to look into issues around dam operation and flooding. A county spokesperson says, quote, the study has launched and is in process, a process neighbors hope will bring much closure after so much confusion.
What do you feel looking at this?
It's hard. It's hard to look at this. It's empty. It's bare. It's my home. I can't even live here. It hurts so bad. I'm sad. I want to come home and I can't.
What also makes her upset?
Nobody was coming down our street in a boat or high water vehicle with a loudspeaker telling us a flood is coming. Get out of your house. Nothing.
That's unacceptable to you.
Absolutely, it's unacceptable.
10 Investigates has been tracking exactly how Manatee County officials notified people about rising waters. At 9 a.m. on August 5th, the county says it began making reverse 911 calls to people living closest to the dam. Then, at 9:30, the first phase of the dam release. Records show 2 rounds of geo-targeted wireless alerts went to some cell phones, The first at 10:29 a.m. to this area you see in orange. That's an hour after the initial release. The second at 12:31 p.m. to this area, but again, only to cell phones in the targeted area.
I did not receive a text stating that my entire neighborhood was going to flood.
That's because Soshenitz lives right outside of the area the county targeted for those wireless alerts. We asked county leaders why they did not broaden their reach.
We look to message the appropriate target audience so that that messaging does not go where it may cause confusion or it may cause panic when those residents may not be impacted.
But they were impacted. Right. So we're not going to inform those where the flooding is coming because you don't want to cause panic. Okay. The dam releases is causing an awful lot of flooding. And like up in North Carolina with Lake Norman, same thing here. No, the dam release didn't cause the flooding. Well, then what did? Oh, the torrential rains. We have to wise up, man. We've got to get a little smarter. And don't expect any kind of warning. Don't expect any kind of help from your government any longer. Ohio River Bridge from Cincinnati getting into Kentucky, an explosion. It was a car fire that I guess melted the steel of the bridge. That's right. That's what we're supposed to believe. And it's closed now.
A massive fire underneath a bridge spanning the Ohio River closed a heavily traveled route between Cincinnati and northern Kentucky on Friday and damaged part of the steel structure. No injuries were reported. The fire broke out overnight near a playground in a park under the bridge, shutting down Interstate 471, according to a spokesperson for the Cincinnati Fire Department. Video showed flames soaring above the bridge near downtown Cincinnati. Chunks of concrete fell from the bridge and the fire warped a few steel beams, fire crews reported. The fire was under control hours later, but the bridge will remain closed. What caused the fire is under investigation.
A fire that got so hot that it literally warped steel beams. I don't know. I think that begs questions. And thousands of dead fish in critical watershed following the lithium plant fire. Oh, I don't know. It just kind of feels like there's a war going on in the United States. Don't tell anybody, though. Americans are very, very scared people. There is a war going on. Just because bombs aren't dropping doesn't mean you're not engaged in war.
To As a Man Thinketh on United TV. Some of you are familiar with the Fredericktown Battery Recycling Plant Critical Mineral Recovery, which caught on fire yesterday. Was all over the news in the Midwest, didn't make national news, at least not in the main headlines, but it should have, because I think what we're seeing there is a similar situation to what we saw in East Palestine. And luckily we had the same EPA supervisors to clean it up. And they immediately had people in surrounding areas evacuate. I'm going to get into a little bit about what is in lithium battery smoke and whether or not people should be concerned about it. But I don't think that a lot of people have heard about all the dead fish. Okay, this is one of those things where, you know, they're trying to keep it on the hush. They're trying to investigate what happened. I think we all know what happened. But basically, after this fire was extinguished, a bunch of dead fish started washing up in Village Creek. And these dead fish were actually confirmed by the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. What they've said about it is that they assume that it has something to do with the battery plant fire, but they're not 100% sure. There was, by some reports and pictures that I've seen, some white foam on the surface of the water. So they're not 100% sure if it was suffocation of the fish, a lack of oxygen, or if there was actual chemicals in the water. That said, the EPA has not said that they've found a whole lot of elevated chemicals anywhere. They're doing 24-hour air quality monitoring, but they did say that just north of the site, and Village Creek is north of the site, they did notice some levels of elevated chemicals, although they didn't confirm what those chemicals were, but they were within the alert zone of the EPA, which is fantastic news because they had no alert zones when East Palestine happened.
All right, link is in the chat. Even if you don't watch the videos, click on the link to circulate them. Oh boy, we are just getting more and more poisonous by the day. And here we go again, and I do recommend that you subscribe to NASA, who is putting out very, very important information, especially when it relates to eminent domain and government stealing private property from a whole lot of people all over the country.
Welcome back to As a Man Thinketh on UNASA TV. So a lot of people have been asking me about Hurricane Helene. Was it planned? Was it manipulated? Was it natural? I mean, there's been a lot of questions around it. And I would say this to most of those people. Let's look past all the theories, okay? Because in reality, the theories don't matter. I mean, nobody's going to have the correct theory of what happened or what went on. But what matters is why we're even having this conversation in the first place. Because a lot of people several years ago wouldn't have believed you if you said that there were these types of situations going on. On this channel, you know, last summer I spent a lot of time talking about eminent domain cases that were all connected to a massive power grid infrastructure upgrade across the United States. Some of these areas have 100-mile wide power line swaths planned, 50 miles wide, 15 miles wide, and even the 5-mile ones wide. People had a hard time believing me and called me out for misinformation, disinformation, because they just couldn't possibly fathom why you would need to have these corridors that are that wide running across the United States. It doesn't matter to them that the Department of Energy has this stuff published on their website, and you can go and read about it. They explain why they need these massive corridors. What matters to them is that it was unbelievable to them, and so therefore everything I was saying must have been fake news. But it wasn't fake. It is actual information. It's published on the website, and it blows my mind how a lot of these guys can publish these things, be frank about them, and people still don't believe it. They pass it off as some sort of strange conspiracy theory. Well, you guys better start believing it because it's true. It's happening. It's published. Over the summer, I covered numerous eminent domain cases across the United States that were all attached to this. And people are losing equity in their homes. People are losing a lot because of this green energy infrastructure upgrade. People who didn't think they had anything to lose from it are losing to it. People who were told that they would only gain from it are losing to it. Think about it. People in Maryland, for example, were complaining that their home values plummeted. Contracts on their homes were dropped because just the simple announcement of one of these power grids going in their area. There are big changes ahead, folks. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about me. Nobody cares about the environment. This entire thing saying that it's about the environment, green energy, is just a term. It actually does not refer to saving the environment, saving the people. Think about it this way. If we were really going to do away with oil and gas, Israel striking Iran's supplies and production wouldn't mean a thing to the West. But making sure that they didn't disrupt that was extremely important to the U.S. Why? Because we are still going to be reliant on oil and gas. What this has more to do with is that we are heading into the fourth industrial revolution that takes 10 times, more than 10 times, the amount of energy consumption that we have now. So it's more or less creating a much more balanced approach, but we have to convince people that we need this massive infrastructure upgrade to do an entire switch. In the meantime, there are no plans to actually disrupt oil and gas production. The only plans are to increase the amount of energy we consume. And whether you agree with me or not, all energy comes at a cost.
And I will just give a little bit more information. They will disrupt oil and gas and diesel for the ordinary people, for sure, because we're already feeling it, right? Okay. So, link again is in the chat. We are losing everything, and it's coming swiftly, and I don't think a lot of awake people realize it because they're kind of living in their bubble, and, well, they haven't lost anything yet, and they hear bits and pieces of information where, okay, yeah, eminent domain, all right, okay, so some farmer lost, a significant amount of acres. Oh, it's much, much worse. And now we're seeing government do whatever the hell it wants to do. But I have constitutional rights. No, you don't. No, you don't. You really don't. Now, I'm going to play. Look at this. Look at the sky. Ugh. Okay. Wyoming is so beautiful. Mike Decker, let's listen. The quiet of Wyoming. Wildlife is missing in action. Trees sick and dying. Toxic skies. It's very sad. It's really tremendously sad what is taking place. But it is taking place.
Pretty sad when all you hear is vehicles on the highway and this little spray here. From 1993 till 2013, I pretty much spent every day in this canyon. And I can tell you, there was tons of life. There should be eagles soaring, hawks, birds, elk, moose. There's some deer, but it's mostly young ones. I mean, no birds. There should be a couple wild robins or something at least. I haven't even heard a squirrel. Guy has the meat processing here in town. Said it has been very quiet at his facility. Just a few here and there. There's nothing for him to eat up here. There hasn't been. Nothing got to grow this summer either. Pretty sure I made a video of that showing grass wasn't growing, no flowers. Oh, shit. But it's pretty damn, it's pretty heartbreaking. It's Halloween. I'm sure the masses are getting all spiffied up with their special costume. Lots of adult children do it, I see. Because everything's fine. No. This is one of the few spots in the canyon you can come off the top. Not seeing elk, I understand, being it's hunting season, but they still come down the canyon. And there ain't a track one. There should be a trail going in and out of this sumbitch.
And that's what I've noticed, because I was looking at the snow as he's walking by, and I don't see any deer prints, I don't see any wildlife prints. Maybe they just had the snow, I don't know, but look at the sky, okay? Yes, they are killing all life. This is a genocide that's taking place like none other. And I saw a comment, something about how soon it will be us. It's already happening to us. A whole lot are sick and dying from a whole lot of different methods. Chronic illness, it's already happening to us. So, yeah. Infertility is skyrocketing all over the world. But they still claim that, oh, there's too many people in the world, get rid of them. Well, they've gotten rid of a whole lot, and a whole lot of people, a whole lot of women can't get pregnant. So I hate seeing evil be successful, but it sure has been. And when you listen to these broadcasts of what is taking place in Spain, well, it's a different language, but same. Western North Carolina, what's happening in Florida, what's happening here is happening also in Spain. Government just does not seem to be helping people.
It's almost impossible to watch. Cars trapped in an underpass in the southern suburb of Valencia, with firefighters looking for signs of life. The toll of Tuesday's flooding now exceeds 200 and is expected to rise dramatically. Police here are using trucks like this one to transport bodies to a new temporary morgue. This is a ghost.
I will say that at least mainstream media, you can actually see some government officials working, but there's an awful lot of volunteers having to come out and do the work, and a whole lot pissed off at their government for not coming out to an awful lot of areas.
Town. When more than a year's worth of rain fell in just 8 hours on Tuesday, it was quite literally stopped in its tracks. The darkest of ironies that today is All Saints' Day, a bank holiday and day of remembrance for relatives and friends, as people living here sift through what's left of their lives, shock and loss condense into anger.
Pero me siento afortunada.
I feel lucky because I'm alive, and I know many people died. I know lots of people don't know where their family are, and I know how much pain they're in, so I'm grateful because I'm alive. But that doesn't take away the responsibility of those people who tell us to get our votes, that they'll be with us. Because right now, in the hour of truth, they're not.
It's just helplessness. It's impotence. The state and the local government, they don't do anything.
Here, desperate residents are trying to dig up cars totally submerged in mud.
There are a lot of cars buried underground, and we need people to help us dig them out, because there could be people trapped inside.
Today, an army of volunteers descended on Valencia to help clean up. So many emergency services told them to stop coming to keep the roads clear while they look for both the living and the dead.
The Civil Guard has confirmed 202 people are known to have died. The triage number to confirm whether people are missing or not is still open, and there have been thousands of calls.
This man, Carlos Mazon, Valencia's regional president, is at the heart of a row brewing between the local and national government, one that today broke out into the open. Spain's defense minister, seen here on the right, was asked why the army hadn't sent more troops to the region earlier. She blamed Mr. Mazon, saying he'd only allowed one elite unit to work in a limited area. He and his administration have been criticised for failing to send out a stay-at-home alert till 8 p.m, by which time a bridge had collapsed and thousands were trapped by swirling floodwaters.
All my memories were in that house. My parents lived there. They all lived there. And now, in one night, it's all gone.
This is on course to be one of the most deadly floodings of the last century in Europe. Today, the World Health Organization said Spain had to examine its flood warning system. This, as scientists say, governments all over the world need to prepare for extreme weather events.
You know what she's going to say next? Exacerbated by climate change.
This is exhausting work. In Payaporta, they're trying to clean their ruined town and put it back together. It seems an impossible task, but what choice do they have? These people have been crying out for help from the government, for police, soldiers, doctors and equipment, and they say they've had nothing.
We feel that we are abandoned by the government, and we are helping each other, but there are a lot also of thieves in the night, so we are scared also. So it is a nightmare, not also because of the blood, but because of the anarchy that we are living now.
The frustration bubbles through. Over and over, we're told that they want the world to know about their despair. Ruth is furious. She blames politicians for letting down the victims of this disaster.
I'm angry, so angry with the government. I don't care what political party they are. I don't care. My flag is Spanish, so it shouldn't matter.
She guides me down a side street, a wall of cars and debris that nobody has been able to check. She fears there are bodies in there, and there is a lingering smell that suggests she might be right. There are search and rescue workers here checking these cars for the dead. More than 60 people were killed in this town, and there are still people missing. 4 days after these floods, and these towns still look like catastrophic disaster zones. And the truth is that there is no sign that an official is in charge of the response here. Instead, it's the locals, the residents, who are doing everything they can to clean up. But lots of these people are telling us that they feel forgotten. We do see one army truck arriving. A soldier tells me they're desperate to help, but that they don't have precise orders. Nobody's told them what to do. The most vulnerable are left to wait. This baby is 6 months old, desperately fragile. Her mother has nowhere safe to put her down, so she holds her all day long. The trauma of this disaster affects everyone, young and old.
We're almost certainly talking about the most serious flooding that our continent has seen so far this century. I'm aware that the response that is being given is not enough. I know that we have to do better and that we have to give our all. but I also know that we have to do it together.
The government says it has called in thousands more police and mobilized a further 5,000 soldiers, the biggest peacetime troop deployment in the nation's history. And while the water recedes on the ground, underground garages are still flooded and still being searched. But what is really powering the response to this crisis is this: the legions of volunteers who've stepped up to help. People, not politicians, are coming to Spain's rescue.
Yes. 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 This is what we need now. Okay.
These people.
There was a time, but the disasters were not quite as disastrous as we are experiencing now. But government did step up and actually do things. Well, they don't anymore. This is the new normal in the new world order. And yeah, you get treated like shit, but you got to pay a lot to get treated like shit. Pay a lot to your governments. And don't expect any services to be provided. Doesn't sound like fun, right? It's not. But look at the response of all those people showing up. Yay, yay, I just love it. I don't care where it is in the world. This is what needs to be done. And, anyone sitting back and doing nothing, you got to look at yourself in the mirror. Ooh, you might get a rather ugly reflection, but you can pretty it up. If you want, it's your choice. So, yeah, Peanut the squirrel. Got a comment from a subscriber in Scotland underneath the video that I posted last night. And she's saying, this really upset me. And it really upset me. And apparently it really upset an awful lot of people. Why? Well, because you can see the tyrannical overdrive of New York State, what they did to this man, what they did to this squirrel. I never heard of Peanut the squirrel, but Peanut the squirrel had over 500,000 followers on Instagram. 7 years he had this rescue squirrel. 7 years. And now Peanut's dead for no reason. I think a lot of people can really get in touch with how evil government is, especially when they go after animals, when they go after the most vulnerable, the elderly, children, animals. And yeah, this is really pretty unbelievable. New York State. Department of Health and Environmental Conservation. New York, you ain't what you used to be.
Mark Longo says he was blindsided on Wednesday morning when agents from the State Department of Environmental Conservation came looking for his famous squirrel.
I was just going through my daily routine of feeding all of our 71 rescue horses at our nonprofit animal rescue. Midway through that, a line of DEC officers, about 6 to 8 of them, showed up and gave me a warrant for a squirrel and a raccoon.
The search warrant said Longo was in unlawful possession of wildlife. He says agents ransacked his property for 5 hours until they found Peanut and Fred the raccoon.
We complied. We weren't allowed to move. We were police escorted into the bathroom. Mind you, this is a search warrant for a squirrel and a raccoon. And I feel like this was a little bit of an overkill.
Longo says he was working on the necessary paperwork to be able to legally own Peanut as an educational animal.
You're not only hurting my family by taking Peanut away from me, but you're also hurting the organization that we started on the back of a rescue squirrel. We named this organization Peanut's Freedom Farm because he has been such a big portion of my life and so many people around the world. You know, we promoted the fact that squirrels are not good pets. They don't deserve to be inside, but there are rare occasions where you stumble on an animal that unfortunately can't survive in their normal habitat. That's the only reason why Peanut was ever a rescue animal.
Longo says he rescued Peanut 7 years ago in New York City after the squirrel's mom was hit by a car. He says he rehabbed Peanut and tried to release him into his backyard. But Longo says Peanut never developed the instincts to survive outside. After Peanut was attacked by an animal and lost half his tail, Longo let Peanut live in his home.
And then he became best friends with my cat. So that's when we turned to social media. We put some funny and silly videos out there, and the internet loved him. He became the world's most famous squirrel.
Peanut racked up a combined 3 million followers on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Longo says he believes Peanut's fame led to someone filing a complaint.
I'm no expert in anything involving politics of the state, but they sent 6 to 8 officers to my house from Albany to confiscate a squirrel and a raccoon, and it was signed off on a search warrant. So just that in its sense, to say that is one of the most shocking things I could say, in my opinion, is we just used resources and spent an entire day sitting 2 people who run a nonprofit animal rescue and treat them like criminals.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about.
So, yeah, okay. This one experience here, this one incident, reflects so much the tyranny of government, the insanity of government. He also said in another broadcast that he feels that he was targeted by somebody, because somebody called the departments in New York State and said he's got a squirrel. So the other bit of information was this squirrel apparently bit an investigator, and then they had to put the squirrel down to test for rabies. Is that really the only way to test for rabies? This squirrel has been indoors. Indoors. You can tell by the behavior that there was no rabies. And if it's not a lie, and the squirrel did bite the investigator, he was kept out of the house while all of these strange people were in the house, and it took them a while to find the squirrel, and the squirrel was probably freaking out, scared. What is wrong with us? What is wrong with us? You know, what the hell is wrong with this country? I mean, the rescue is actually named after the squirrel. It's a Peanut something rescue. I can't imagine how they feel. I can't imagine. Well, I can imagine. The devastation. Doesn't matter if it's a hamster or a squirrel or a dog or a cat, or doesn't matter. Because people who actually love animals and understand that you can develop a relationship with any animal out there, those are the people who get it. And those who are cut off from nature don't get it. There was nothing wrong with the squirrel. It was murder. Clear and simple. Well, of course. Yeah. Outrage ensues after beloved rescue squirrel seized and euthanized. They didn't even tell him. They didn't even tell him that they euthanized him. He learned from a news broadcast. Wow. Yeah. New York State Department of Environmental Conservation staged a 5-hour raid for a squirrel and a raccoon after an anonymous complaint was lodged against the Peanuts Freedom Farm, where internet sensation Peanut, the squirrel, was taken into custody. Both the squirrel and the raccoon were euthanized. Why do you have to euthanize an animal to test for rabies? Is there no other way to test rabies? You've got to kill the animal to test? That doesn't seem right. Rip my best friend. I hate it. Fucking hate it. "71 rescue horses." Wow. Well, this is our world now. Welcome to the cruel normal. The cruelty is out of control. Boy, the good people need to stand up and beat back this evil cruelty. Who had a communist bureaucrat killing a pet squirrel for November? This is what people were writing on Twitter and other social media. "My hatred for the government is renewed with every Peanut video." Peanut symbolizes goodness and gentleness and all of those wonderful qualities that we want to see in human beings, like this. It's in this man, right? Government comes in, boom. We don't want you having any goodness. We don't want you having any joy. The anonymous caller, if there was one, who the hell knows? But yeah, there's an awful lot of people just like our government officials out there who either get jealous or freak out. Oh, you're doing something that is not legal. Yeah. Sure wish we could get rid of all of them, but yeah, the internet after hearing what they did to Peanut the squirrel. Yeah, I understand it. The Nazis coming for you. Yeah. And Trump put out a notice about Peanut the squirrel. Peanut, I have information that will lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton. Boom, you're dead. Well, that Biden's dog bit 24 people. Something was wrong with the training of this dog. But his dog wasn't put down. I just don't know. Sometimes I just feel like I'm being swallowed up in so much darkness in this country. And, I just came across this. We're not good with animals, okay? There are an awful lot of Americans who absolutely love their animals, treat them so well. But the collective and how I don't know when the last time I had chicken was. Oh, I actually did have in Maine about a year ago. This was chicken from someone that she knew, humanely, all that stuff, right? But I can't. It's one of the reasons why I can't eat meat, turkey, how we treat them. They're tortured, they're killed, and then put on our table. And Iowa takes control over 1.3 million chickens. Pure Prairie Poultry says they can't feed the birds. Whistleblower alleges mistreatment. Of course. Of course.
To Iowa, where 1.3 million chickens were taken from several poultry plants all across the state, including in Charles City. As that plant is set to close, one whistleblower has some shocking allegations. ABC 6 News reporter Hannah Holland has been digging into this story today. She joins us now live from Charles City with more tonight. Hannah.
Maisie, former employees here at Pure Prairie Poultry say they are disappointed and frustrated, and they had expressed concern over the well-being of these animals well before the state got involved.
The birds were at risk, and we all expressed our concern.
1.3 million Pure Prairie chickens from 14 different farms across Iowa, now in the care of the state.
That's a rare step. Obviously, that's a costly step for taxpayers in Iowa. It's the right thing to do for these animals.
On Monday, Pure Prairie Poultry notified the Iowa Department of Agriculture that they were no longer in a financial position to feed the birds, which former employees say they had seen while the Charles City plant was up and operating.
We expressed our concern to the leadership team, and they told us that they were taking care of it.
Several complaints were sent to PETA about chickens going days without food or water, being left in the hot sun, and more.
So they were literally just having the security guards go out there with a garden hose. The birds are in the mods, and they would just spray them. And that was their idea of watering the birds.
Company filing.
Oh, I can't stand this. I just can't stand this. There's so much fucking evil in this country. Americans get it. Face the fact that this is how we started, and this is how we're ending. Evil taking out the indigenous and evil taking out us. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I if you want to watch this is The abrupt closure, processing plants, Wisconsin chicken farmers are scrambling. Look at this. There's nothing humane about factory farming. Nothing humane. They're traumatized, killed, shot up with an awful lot of poisonous crap, and then put on your plate. Well, I think we've been ignoring the evil way too long. We've ignored the cruelty of the American. Yeah. Not everybody, so, but it just gets too much that we can't ever resolve anything. We can't correct ourselves, right? And all we do is listen to the bullshit every single day. Here, now, apparently there's an attorney general in some state that is investigating what Trump said about Liz Cheney. And it's not what he said. Of course, everything is just either, spoken out of context or lied about. And we live this. I've lived it my entire life.
Breaking news. Donald Trump took his violent rhetoric to a new extreme, suggesting the former Republican Congresswoman should be fired upon.
Breaking news, Trump under investigation for saying, quote, war hawk Liz Cheney should be fired upon.
Right now on ABC News Live, he suggested 9 barrels of a firing squad aimed right at her.
Donald Trump declaring before a crowd that Cheney should be put before a firing line.
With the battle over women voters raging, Donald Trump suggests putting Liz Cheney in the firing line.
Now you have this threat against Liz Cheney that Trump is talking about a firing squad.
The Drudge Report, Trump calls for Cheney execution. He's saying quite explicitly and unambiguously that Liz Cheney should be shot, should be executed by firing squad.
He directly said what he thinks should happen to Liz Cheney just because she disagrees with him. He basically called for executing Liz Cheney.
Talking about putting Liz Cheney in front of the firing squad.
He actually suggested that Liz Cheney should face a firing squad. Guns being trained on a political opponent.
Guns being trained on a political opponent. He would like to see guns aimed at Liz Cheney's face.
9 barrels pointed at Liz Cheney is the latest escalation.
Using the military to kill a political rival.
We've graduated to firing squads and execution. He really wants to kill with a firing squad his political opponents.
Sounds like to me he just thought she needed to die.
Trump was suggesting a firing squad.
Evoking images of a firing squad, of an assassination. What's your response to Donald Trump saying she should be fired, that Liz Cheney should be fired upon?
Donald Trump's closing argument has been Puerto Rico's an island of trash. I'm not a Nazi. Liz Cheney should be in front of a firing squad.
He's talking about a firing squad for his political enemies.
A firing squad, a military tribunal.
Talking about sending a prominent Republican to the firing squad.
He's imagining and in some sense kind of getting off on the image, the idea of Liz Cheney being put in front of a bunch of weapons and having them shot at her.
I'm not kind of confused about the hyperventilating around this on the right. He literally said rifles being trained at Liz Cheney.
And this is both the rhetoric and the imagery of Stalin. It's intended to be about death.
He's talking about training a rifle at Liz Cheney and a firing squad. My God, who does he want to kill if he becomes president?
So for him to call for Liz Cheney to be set up before a firing squad?
Firing squad, essentially, or something, for a political opponent. Liz Cheney needs to be in a firing squad.
You're talking about a firing squad for Liz Cheney.
A firing squad for a fellow Republican, fellow American.
Put Liz Cheney in front of a firing squad.
Mark Milley was his Joint Chiefs of Staff chair. John Kelly was his chief of staff. He now wants to put those same people before a firing squad. No matter how loyal you've been in the past, it doesn't matter. Stephen Miller feels safe now. But let him look at Donald Trump sideways one day, and he'll be the one Donald Trump is saying should be before a firing squad.
If you were busy today and you only saw the headlines, you may be under the impression that the former president called Liz Cheney, well, it called for her to face a firing squad. The former president was actually mocking Cheney as someone who, pushes for war from the comforts of Washington, D.C.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face. They're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy.
All right, so let me preface this by saying, no, I am not a Trump supporter. I think he's also a very violent man. He's killed an awful lot of innocent people, dropping his bombs and doing his drone strikes. They're all violent murderers. And in fact, growing up in our fabulous American society, we've got an awful lot of Americans who are violent, crazy. Okay. But what did he say there? He didn't say that because she's a warmongering, and no, he's not going to end the wars, but yeah, Liz Cheney, part of the neocons, Father Dick Cheney, they're always calling for war. So what he's saying is, how about they go to the war and have 9 barrels facing them? But this is what the left listens to. All of, a whole lot of people, no doubt, are in agreement. I think that the leaders and their families should be going to war. No one else. You want war? Go fight. Don't send other people over to fight your wars, right? Okay, I've always felt that. That's essentially what he's saying. Can we ever correct ourselves and live rightly here? No, I don't think so. How about this, which is a John Stossel video, very good. And yeah, all we do, we can't shut up the liars because we never held anybody accountable. And they've been lying and lying and lying and lying. And here we are just having to be subjected to lie after lie. Something's wrong with us. Something's wrong with us that we have permitted this. Yes, we, the ordinary, have a whole lot to do with the nightmare we're living. And don't tell me. Okay, let me, look, Kamala, it could be anybody. It could be anybody. It doesn't, ordinary Americans do the same thing. It is truly, the tragedy is beyond comprehension when you think of everything that we actually did have, and this is what we're left with. Huh?
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Who is Kamala Harris? She won't hold news conferences and rarely takes questions from reporters. Instead, she reads the same speech off teleprompter again and again.
The path to the White House runs right through this state.
Her campaign also releases carefully produced videos.
We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead.
That would be good. But would Harris's policies allow that? America's on track to bankruptcy.
The vice president votes in the affirmative.
Harris repeatedly casts tie-breaking votes to spend more of your money.
Unlocking the ability to pass a COVID relief package without Republican votes.
Last election, I ran a game show that compared candidates' spending plans. It found that Trump and Biden wanted to increase spending by more than $200 billion. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders by trillions. But I was surprised that the biggest spending plans came from Kamala Harris. Her proposals would have exploded our debt.
The highest inflation in 41 years.
Biden's irresponsible spending ignited nasty inflation. Imagine what inflation would be like if Harris had been president. In her first policy speech, she's proposed almost $2 trillion in new spending.
Provide first-time home buyers with $25,000.
And $2 trillion small compared to what she wanted to do during COVID. Give every American $2,000 a month. That would have cost $21 trillion. She's also endorsed eliminating private health insurance, having government take it all over. Even CNN anchors seem puzzled.
So for people out there who like their insurance, well, they don't get to keep it.
Well, listen, the idea is that everyone gets access to medical care.
Now her campaign says she no longer supports entirely government-run health care. She's flip-flopped on other issues.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
No question, she told CNN. But now Harris wants votes in Pennsylvania where fracking provides jobs. Her campaign now says she won't ban fracking. And they even say Republicans claiming she wanted a fracking ban is false.
You know, I have said before, I repeats really, I just can't deal with them. They're annoying to me. This has been my entire life here as an American. We know all of this. We know it. We know it. We know that we have scum in Washington, D.C., in local government, in state government. The worst of the worst. Stupid, cruel, tyrannical, out for themselves, narcissistic, beyond belief. And here we are. Same goes for Trump. Here we are. Yeah, something's very wrong with the American people on the whole. Something's very wrong. That this is fine with you. You listen to people lie over and over, and you run out to vote for them. And is there something wrong with the people that vote for the lesser of two evils? Yeah. You got to realize that within your own self. You do. And when I realized that I was doing that, I was mortified. It's hard to look in the mirror. Yeah, we've permitted this. More people have to say, enough. I deserve better than being lied to by trash.
Obvious attempt to distract. But what's false? That's what she said.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
She also wanted to force gun owners to sell their guns to the government.
I support a mandatory buyback program.
Mandatory. But again, today,
a Harris campaign spokesperson tells us that the vice president would no longer require this.
So who is the real Kamala Harris? She used to brag about being a tough prosecutor against even the smallest offenses.
I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy.
But then when progressives said abolish the police, she flip-flopped. And during the George Floyd riots, when people were looting and setting fires, Harris tweeted, help post bail for those protesting. Now that the policing pendulum has swung back, she again brags about locking people up.
I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
During the 2019 Democratic debate, Tulsi Gabbard pointed out her hypocrisy.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
That was true.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay.
And I inhaled. I did inhale.
Another criticism of Harris is that she's nasty to people who work for her.
Incredibly, there's been a 92% turnover on her staff.
Politico called her office abusive, an unhealthy environment. Now, if she were a hard-charging boss who got results, that might be okay. But we know what happened when Biden put her in charge of the border.
More than 302,000 migrants crossed the southern border.
Of course more people crossed. Harris promised them free stuff.
Medicare for all people who are in this country illegally.
I'm opposed to any policy that would deny any human being public education or public health, period.
Today, the legacy media want to protect Harris because they hate Trump so much. They were more honest when Harris ran against other Democrats.
You're considered the most liberal United States senator.
Somebody said that, and it actually was Mike Pence on the debate stage. But
yeah, well, actually, the nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator.
GovTrack's ranking of Harris was up on their site for 5 years, but once it looked like she would get the nomination, they deleted the page. When questioned about it, they said, votes from one legislative session are not sufficient to create a reliable portrait.
what can be unburdened by what has been.
Harris needs this media cover because she says weird things.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
And radical things.
Yes, we do talk about equity. We actually believe it is a good principle.
Equality and equal opportunity aren't good enough, she says.
There's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests, everyone should get the same amount. Equitable treatment means we all end up at the same place.
So we need more government redistribution.
Everybody should end up in the same place.
Finally, Harris embraces the word woke.
We have to stay woke. Like everybody needs to be woke.
What's so funny about woke?
Cause a lot of us to be woke.
She's the favorite to be our new president?
And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke. Yeah.
It's upsetting that this big government opportunist and this crass egomaniac are our choices. The good news is that America's founders wisely created checks on executive power. Foolish media often say, the president runs the country.
Run the country.
Run this country.
The worst person possible is running the country.
But the president runs just one of 3 branches of government, each of which was designed to be able to stop the other from doing something crazy. The founders demanded limited government because they'd seen the damage done by tyrants. With these 2 candidates, I'm grateful for those limits on executive power. I sure hope they stick.
And they haven't, John. John, come on. You know, they have not stuck. They haven't existed in really decades. Wow. It was obvious with Obama. When he comes in, suddenly he starts usurping congressional powers. And they let him do it. And I posted many videos on that. I was like, what the hell is going on here? You know, people in power want more power, and that doesn't seem to be happening in Congress with both parties, Democrat, Republican. Just let Obama do whatever the hell he wants to do, usurp your power, and that's fine with you? I was rather shocked. It's been going on for a long time. No checks and balances. They all violate the Constitution. But now we have people with absolutely no dignity at all. The hell is she laughing about? Gotta go woke. Really? Okay. We have serious problems. And the only way that they can be rectified is the individuals in the aggregate, of course, they need to do some work on themselves and develop some self-respect, because these people treat us like shit. Oh no, Trump doesn't. Trump is, yeah, he's all for America and he's all for Americans and he treats us wonderfully. Okay. He came out for Peanut the squirrel, but he hasn't come out for all of the dead having taken that new product in 2020, Operation Warp Speed. How about all of those who are disabled by that new product in 2020? Hasn't said a word about that. In fact, he has continued to say that he was great. He got that new product done real fast, put it out on the market, go, go, go. And he has still claimed, get the shot. Something's wrong there. Yeah, I think he used the squirrel to promote himself. Well, that's what they do. And I have to say that, you know, this campaign has been, well, it's been easy against this thing. What the hell is she? I mean, really, she should just be like a sales girl in a department store like Sears. But anyone who is a candidate can see that Americans are desperate for some normalcy. It's been easy for him to campaign and speak to his base and get more in his base. Very easy. So it'll be very interesting to see which way are we going. Hi, Sweet Pea. So, yeah, I mean, what is it? What is it, you? We've got problems. We've got serious problems here. And I have to interrupt my broadcast for you. Is that what you're saying? Okay. I will. All right, here you go. Here you go. Here's my treat boy. There you go. So, you know, it's I'm more concerned about all of the Americans who are being flung off the cliff, who desperately need help, the elderly. I just, and at this point, yeah, it would be very easy for Trump to step into the dictator role because he's got the support for a whole lot of people going, yay, yay, yay. Just like they did with Obama, they'll do with Trump. You got to be really objective and look at what they do as opposed to what they say. Okay, yeah, Look at Trump. He goes to Western North Carolina and he helped some people and he did this and he did that. But you have to also understand the pathological narcissist. When you got billions, oh, it's no problem. It is no problem whatsoever to play the people. So, and if anybody thinks that just because Trump is in the White House, everything's just going to be, fine and dandy, they'll continue probably the left blue, the blue red, against one another, and the left will go berserk. And the scenario could be they go so berserk that he declares martial law. And his supporters on the right think that it's great because he's protecting us, and they don't fully understand what's behind it. We're already a tyranny. When you look at Trump, how many times he has violated the Constitution. He doesn't give a shit about the Constitution. He even said when he was president, he's all for the red flag laws. What did he say? We take the guns first, due process later. Wow. That I kind of thought that would make the red team be very suspicious of this guy. How about get 5G towers up, telecommunications industry, and I'll just usurp the power of local government. Local government, now I'm a dictator. You have no right. We're taking all of your power, handing it over to the telecommunications industry. You can put up 5G anywhere you want. It's not how the government works, but that's how Trump worked. Come on. We've been stupid for a very long time. Stupid gets us this. So, boy, I sure do hope that everybody stays safe. I don't want to see anybody hurt, but I would, I don't want to be living this anymore. It's really sickening. And some are saying, they just can't wait for the election to be over. Oh, God. Will it be over? A whole lot are saying that we're not going to have the votes counted, not for 2 weeks and all of this. And it's like, oh, God. But these people have usurped our lives. And I want my life back. I want my life back. I think a lot of you do too. So for all of those who are, you create your own reality, Carol. And I'm sorry that your reality is just so challenging. No, it doesn't work like that. We all create reality for one another. Those who want to see a reality where people can be trusted, where people actually speak the truth, where people are sane, where you can count on people, that means they have an awful lot of healthy people creating a reality for the community. And that doesn't seem to be the case. No, Bella, we have to. We have to. We have to do it. Not Yeshua, not Jesus. We, with the Jesus within us, you speak the truth, you live the truth. You live honestly, you speak honestly, you are a trustworthy human being, because that label that you put on yourself as a Christian means something. So, just, again, I'm going to say, yeah, help those in your community and do what you can to take us off the low road. Tomorrow, I'm going to actually play this, and I think I'll play it in full, 10 minutes. Talk about believing or just accepting lies. It's what we've been doing for decades. So if you want to listen to this, I won't even tell you what it's about, but I'll put the link in. But it's a good example of, how long in this country Americans have just, well, another lie, who cares? Everybody should care. When you go shopping, pick up a little bit of extra food, give it to your food pantry, and some pet food, give it to your animal shelters. Get to know your elderly and check up on them, and be a power of example for living honestly and speaking honestly and being a trustworthy human being where people can rely on you. Yeah. Takes work, but it's worth it. So on that note, thank you for showing up. Do hope to see you tomorrow night, and wow. Good night and good luck. Ciao.